Hi, I'm Gary Trenda. I'm an applications engineer for Sound Devices, and today we're going to talk about the integration of a Shure ADX5D receiver with our SL2 slot on an 888 series mixer recorder. First thing, this is the ADX5D, and to put it into the super slot on the SL2, you want to make sure that you've got the DB25 backplate. So from there, we've factory reset this unit, so we're acting like we're installing a brand new ADX5D into your SL2. So we're just going to press it into the SL2, pop it in there until the connector seats in the back, and then we're going to connect our A and B antenna connections onto the front. Okay, so now that we've installed the ADX5D into the SL2, we're going to go into the main menu and we're going to scroll down until we see the super slot option. We're going to select super slot and you'll see the SL2 receiver overview. From here, we're going to use the return favorite toggle and we're going to toggle into options for the SL2. So that first option is receiver slot power. We're going to go into receiver slot power and we're going to turn on the power for slot 1. And you'll see this says detecting receiver type. This can be an important troubleshooting step if you're having any trouble with a slot receiver. This completes the full setup of a new slot receiver with the 8 series mixer recorder. Sets up all your defaults. In this case, initializes an AES digital audio connection to the receiver. So now this is powered on. We're going to go out of here. And the last option on here is use wireless names. This is something we do support with the ADX5D. So we're going to turn on use wireless names. What this means is if we name our transmitter, that name will show up on both the ADX5D and it'll flow through to the assigned channel on the 8 series mixer recorder. If you've just installed your SL2, make sure the expansion port is on. This expansion port is the connection between your 8 series mixer recorder and the SL2 slot chassis. We're also going to look at version info here quickly. Make sure you're on at least firmware version 8.5 or newer, because that's where the support for ADX5D is included. Using the select toggle, we can select A1 or A2. That's our first and second channel. In this case, I'm going to select A1. We're going to look at the information we get for the first channel. There's some boxes on here that are going to show you mute and overload, battery level, your A and B antenna RSSI, your Q for your quality meter. You're seeing the RF timeline is already starting to populate. Below that, we've got frequency and group and channel numbers, along with an associated TV channel, if that's available. I'm going to start out with the receiver options menu. It'll show you your device ID. It'll show you your channel name. Here, we're going to rename our first channel. That'll also have renamed the channel on the ADX5D receiver. RF band, as we mentioned, was G57. If you have a reason to change that, that's available here. And then there's a tone generator available if you want to check levels into your 8 series mixer recorder. Your RF history level, here you have the option to use either the RSSI or the quality meter, the Q meter for your history. I'll set it to quality. And then show receiver info. This is another good thing to double check. Make sure you're on at least firmware version 1.3.26. We're going to go back to our main channel menu, and if we want to get a transmitter set up, the first thing we're probably going to want to do is start with an RF scan. So I'm going to use the mic toggle and toggle into RF scan. You can see here we've got a couple of options to decide on with our scan. We can do a full width scan, which is going to scan the entire G57 range that we've got our receiver set up for, or we could scan some subset of that in 5 megahertz steps. Once you're in this screen, your take wheel here is able to scroll frequency, and then the other thing you can do, let's say I got up to 537 and decided that I wanted to select this as an available frequency. I can actually use my select wheel to zoom in on 537. So if I want to select that frequency, I just click on the select wheel and it's going to say assign frequency to receiver A1. I'm going to click again for OK. And now I can get out of the scan menu and you can see that I've assigned 537 megahertz to my first channel. So now that I've assigned that, I can take my, in this case I have an ADX1D transmitter, and I can select IR sync It says sync transmitter to receiver. I've got my transmitter on. I'm aligning the two different windows and clicking OK. And it'll say IR sync started. And then it'll say that the IR sync is successful. So now I'm seeing my ADX1 transmitter coming in. And you can see the red on the RF history because I had the antenna very close to the SL2 receive antennas. But now that I've moved it back onto the table, you can see that purple in the timeline telling you you have 5 bars of quality. And you see the same thing on the quality meter. And as we discussed in the options menu here, you're also able to select RSSI if you'd prefer. So we'll go back out, and now you'll see that's going to be green rather than purple on the RF timeline. You get some information about the ADX1. It tells you the power level that the transmit power is set to. It shows you your battery level. It does show you your A and B RSSI and your quality. We talked about on the bottom here, the RF scan and IR sync. There's also the ability to put the receiver into standby if you need to, and the ability to adjust the output gain. Right now we're at +12, which is the default, but let's say I want to check that and with my select wheel adjust it down to 0 dB of gain. So now that the receiver is set up, I can go to channel 1 on my 8 series mixer recorder and I can select the input. If I go into my input menu, you can see right now I'm on mic line input 1. I just scroll over to A1, which is, as we discussed, the first channel on the first slot. If I select that, you also notice in your channel source menu here, you've got a quick way to get to your receiver setup if you want to get back to that receiver menu. I'm going to back out of that, go back into channel 1, and now you can see on my first channel, if I back all the way into my main menu, that the name that I gave to channel 1 has carried all the way through, and you can see it on the screen there, that channel 1 is now named Bert. So we are all set with our ADX1 into the ADX5D and all the way to the 8 series mixer recorder.